Hello everyone, especially to newcomers and returnees. Welcome to this Black Survival Project Limit Guide. In this video, I will go through the fundamentals of the game such as your goal, the main objectives, and how I learned the game for the first time. This guide will assume that you have already gone through the tutorial of the game, which should cover stamina, health, combat, food, searching, moving, crafting, stances, and resting. My editing skills are not good, so please bear with me for this PowerPoint-like guide, and this video will have timestamps, so feel free to switch around as needed. This guide will center more on learning the game mechanics rather than learning how to be better. As a warning, this video is a general recommendation, not an absolute rule. Everyone had different ways of learning the game, especially back then with the help of the mentorship program. I hope that this kind of system will be re-implemented, but this is a tedious process. In the meantime, this video serves as what I would recommend it as a previous trainee from the mentorship program and as an aspiring mentor. To quickly present myself, my name is Theus. I am a veteran player that has played the game since 2019. I have reached Dragon 1 consistently ever since 2020 and have reached the top 100 ladder in Northern American server. I stream the game on Twitch and used to upload videos on YouTube as well. I am making this Black Survival Guide since there are very few available guides or concrete videos that explain how this game works, especially since the project has been revived thanks to Corpse Kitten and named as Black Survival Project Lumia. Black Survival is a real-time point-and-click battle royale game. In this game, you will have 10 players fighting against each other in order to be the sole survivor at the end. The game is similar to other battle royale games, but has a light twist. Instead of finding equipment and weapons, in this game you will find mostly ingredients that you will use to craft either weapons, equipment, food, stamina, or miscellaneous that will be covered in the later part of this guide. With equipment and a weapon, you will be able to fight people, and the objective being to kill them all in order to survive. Oftentimes, people have questions such as, where is this ingredient located? How do I craft this? What are the food, armor, weapon recipes? All of these can be answered in the index function of this game. This feature tells you more about recipes, such as here, the amount of items present in each area and where to find them, more about wild animals, a short guide. So the index is especially useful for newcomers and returnees, so be sure to check it out regularly. What is Mastery and how do I gain more of them? Mastery is a type of weapon that is used in the game. It is tiered into multiple letter ranks, the lowest being F and the highest being SS. Raising your Mastery provides both basic attack increases and accuracy increases. Moreover, reaching S and SS rank will provide flat percentage armor piercing 7% and 15% respectively. Reaching SS will unlock permanent effect, Superhuman Path, which for every third attack, the character's attack raises by 1 permanently. Here's a chart. For those who don't know, accuracy is a property calculating the percentage of your attack not being guarded. When your opponent guards your attack, they will reduce your incoming damage by a certain percentage. Mastery is a very important factor of the game since Mastery is a factor included in the damage calculation through stats and accuracy. The higher your Mastery is, the more damage you deal. I will not go through the detailed calculation of damage, but this is why some beginners struggle to understand why they deal such low damage compared to other players. Oftentimes, the first reason that you deal not enough damage is because your Mastery is way lower than your opponent's. Mastery can be obtained in various ways. First, crafting weapons or upgrading your current weapon will earn you points in that specific Mastery. The second and most efficient way to earn Mastery is through fighting. Whenever you land an attack on an enemy, whether an animal or a player, you will earn Mastery. You can refer to the charts to know how many attacks you need to go from one Mastery rank to another. The third way is automatic. Whenever a round ends, you will earn a bit of Mastery. All characters will have some proficiency in certain masteries, often ranked from E+ to D+, and the rest of the masteries will be ranked as F. It is therefore the conventional way to play a character using their most proficient mastery. Or not. Some characters can also earn mastery in specific ways. Hyunwoo's combat skill, Dogfight, earns him more mastery point whenever he uses that combat skill on a new target. Rosie's combat skill, Easy Shot, earns her more mastery whenever she kills an animal or a player with her skill. Eva's field skill will allow her to earn more mastery on each attack she does, with the counterpart of receiving more damage. In the Black Survival community, we often qualify Black Survival as a cooking game, and it is true. Food is the most important feature of this game, since its first utility is to allow you to survive. Food is extremely important also because it allows you to fight other players and animals. Learning how to craft food and throughout all game stages is detrimental in winning in this game. Food can also literally turn the situation around in the late game when it's more difficult to secure food. I like to say that there are 3 types of food with different healing amounts. Small heals ranging from 10 to debatably 50, medium heals ranging from 65 to 90, and big or full heals ranging from 120 to 1111. Personally, whenever I'm fighting an opponent, I prioritize using my small heals first as they deplete quite quickly, but if your opponent deal more damage than your small heals, be wary of crits and double hits as they can easily kill you. Stamina items are also important, but often less crafted than food. Stamina items allow you to recover stamina, which allows you to search and move. When you are out of stamina and do an action of searching or moving, exhaustion will be applied and you will lose health. This is why it is important to craft stamina items or to use the resting function. How do I get food? There are several ways of getting and crafting food. The first way is obviously crafting from ingredients you can find in certain areas, such as ramen or alcohol, to craft liquor bread, or maybe chocolate to craft choco pie. Each animal in the game also carry one food ingredient that can be used to craft food such as bread, eggs, bird meat, garlic, burdock, etc. This is why killing animals is also important, but this will be covered later in the guide. The game has 3 stages: early game, mid game, and late game, often clearly distinct by different tempo. If you don't know already, the game is composed of 2 days and 1 night. Both the first day and night have 3 rounds. However, the second day only has 2 rounds. As we progress more rounds, some areas get restricted temporarily and permanently after the second round of nighttime. I often like to say that early game begins at the first round of day 1. Mid game begins at the first round of nighttime. Late game is usually considered after the third round of night. Each stage has different objectives. In the early game, your main objectives is to craft armor, weapon, and food. You can also get early mastery, as you should be at least B by the end of early game. You must also prepare for mid game, especially for Wickeline apparition. In the mid game, your main goals is to finish your weapon or armor if you haven't already, craft more food and use it by fighting, contesting Wickeline, fighting more, as you should optimally reach S by the end of mid game, but A+ is also good. If you have Wickeline, craft your legendary weapon or armor thanks to Holy Blood. If you didn't, stock up more food in your inventory to prepare for late game. In the late game, you must continue to craft food. You have to fight more, as you need to reach both S and SS to get the bonus armor pen. If you are the leading player, it is 3 people alive. You have a generous amount of food, chase people. You have the advantage here. When the situation is not a 1v1 and it gets tight, and you are low on food or only have large heals, calm down, avoid fights, and prepare for final area. These distinctions are extremely important as they serve as major tempos for players, such as certain animal spawns, but this will be covered later. During both the third round of day 1 and at the second round of night, you will be able to use a drone supply. These supplies are extremely helpful as they can provide either food, stamina, enhancing components, or an ingredient to finish your armor or weapon. Special ingredients will also spawn. Typically, Mithril, Meteorite, Ogre Skin, and Tree of Life spawn at the second round of day 1, which is 3 minutes into the game. Holy Blood and Arcane Stone spawn at the second round of night, approximately 11 minutes into the game. These special ingredients can be used to craft weapon, armor pieces, which oftentimes are more powerful than your usual armor. However, if you cannot use them in your current build, it is totally fine to ignore them. Do not waste inventory space by holding them when you have no use for them. As a side note, Tree of Life is an interesting item as they can be used to craft into armor or a full heal. However, if you cannot do these, it is totally fine to eat them for its 100 stamina as it denies other players the Tree of Life. Let's talk about animals. In total, there are 8 types of mobs that exist, 9 if we include Mr. Meiji, with 2 types of bird, Osprey Crow, 2 types of dog, Hunting Dog and Bloodhound, Bat, Gorilla, Bear, and Dr. Wickeline. Here you have a chart covering areas where these animals can spawn, their spawn timer, and their respawn timer. Only one animal of each type will spawn and respawn, meaning that you cannot find 2 ospreys at beach and docks at the same time, at their initial spawn time. The area where the animal spawn is random. It will never spawn in a restricted area, and if there is only one area available, the animal will spawn there. Typically, the birds, the bat, and the dogs will spawn at the very beginning of round 2, day 1. Bear and gorilla will spawn at the beginning of round 3 of day 1, and Dr. Wickeline will spawn at the beginning of round 1 of nighttime. All animals will respawn except Dr. Wickeline. But why is it so important to kill them and to control their respawn timer? First of all, hitting animals provide mastery as we have said earlier, and mastery is a key tool in dealing more damage. Hitting animals will give a one-sided advantage of mastery earning. If you fight another player, this will be called trading, as both players earn mastery. Secondly, killing animals provide XP, which increases your level and base stats. Thirdly, animal drops are very powerful. Most of them possess interesting ingredients, such as feather or leather, that can be very useful and thus provide more reliance than RNG. Moreover, they provide food ingredients, such as bird meat that can be crafted into fried chicken. Oftentimes, animals will also provide additional drops which can be components, food, or stamina items. Dr. Wickeline is a unique NPC that will appear on the first round of the nighttime. She's one of the tankiest mobs and carries one extremely coveted ingredient that shapes the late game. In fact, with the possibility of increasing a lot of mastery, Wickeline also carries the Holy Blood, an essential ingredient in crafting your mastery's most powerful yellow weapon or one of the 2 yellow chest pieces that have the most armor in the game. But why is it so important to have control of Wickeline or to contest control? At this stage of the game, the ones currently ahead in the game will fight for control over Wickeline. This is because fighting in mid-game can earn them a bunch of mastery, since by then, most of them will have completed their armor and weapon. To give a general idea, in high-level lobbies, most players will be at least B+ at the beginning of nighttime. If the player ahead gets Wickeline, they will be able to snowball. They will be able to craft a legendary weapon or armor, which makes a huge difference as it increases your damage or decreases your incoming damage by a lot. If no one contests Wickeline, the leading player gets a one-sided advantage and will probably stomp the latter part of the game, unless you have enough food to sustain their future crazy high damage. If you do not get Wickeline, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are being at a big disadvantage, since while your opponent has to spend time in crafting their legendary gear, you can use this precious time to craft more food, control animals, or fight more instead. Crafting a legendary gear takes not only time but also several slots in your inventory. So, use this precious time to catch up. If your opponent doesn't have food, it will be their loss in the end. Now I will cover certain alternative playstyles. These are not recommended to beginner players as they need a more in-depth knowledge of the game. Traps are a game mechanic that adopts a certain playstyle that avoids fighting directly. Often played by ISO, traps revolve around the fact that when searching, players have a 50% chance of stepping on a trap which inflicts them damage. Traps cannot be equipped in the player's weapon or equipment slot, and do not have an associated mastery. Traps can only be set up in the player's current area and triggered once. The counter to this playstyle are EOD suits and boots. Hacking is another playstyle that avoids fighting directly. By crafting a network PC, the player can start a hacking attempt at nighttime, as hacking during the day reveals your location to all other players in the chat logs. The hacking attempt will require you to stay in the chosen area for the next 70 seconds and be uninterrupted. However, you can search or rest. For hacking to be successful, you absolutely need to craft a shutdown code. During daytime, the hacking attempt will be informed to everyone and the location of the hacker will be revealed. During nighttime, the hacking attempt will be only informed 35 seconds after the player has started the hacking attempt. Also, the location of the hacker will be hidden. If unsuccessful due to moving to another area, a 35-second cooldown will be applied before the player can start another hacking attempt. If successful, all areas will become unrestricted and a new area will be unlocked, the Research Center. You cannot equip the network PC or the shutdown code. When entering the Research Center and searching, the base chance of finding the main computer is 1%. The network PC will give you stacks for each search, increasing the chance of finding the main computer by 0.7% chance for each stack. When the main computer is found, you will be able to use the shutdown code, which will begin a 5-second cinematic. During this cinematic, the hacker cannot heal, move, or search. If the cinematic is successful, all other players will be immediately killed and the hacker will win the game. If the cinematic is unsuccessful due to the hacker dying during the cinematic, the hacking fails and only the hacker dies. Oftentimes, the hacker will be a JP since this character has a 100% chance of success when starting a hacking attempt. All other characters will have different chances of different events happening when attempting to hack, including but not limited to dying. To prevent dying from a hacking JP, you absolutely need to defend the Research Center that will also introduce a new mob, Mr. Meiji. Mr. Meiji's drops are extremely interesting as he provides both food, stamina, equipment, and additional random drops. However, contesting Research Center is strongly not recommended as the chaos and the stealth stance allows JP to get free stacks and possibly a free hack. The strongest player usually defends the Research Center and for multiple reasons. The leading player deals the most damage, able to kill JP during the 5-second cinematic. Dr. Meiji's drops are extremely helpful to make up for taking the time to defend the Research Center. Lastly, if no one guards the Research Center, everyone dies, except the hacker. All players will take the lowest position possible. If the strongest player cannot defend Research Center, whether because they are out of food or low health, it is strongly recommended to use a sad emote. If the strongest player is defending the RC, it is strongly recommended to use the ping emote, as it shows the rest of the lobby that they are present. Usually, if the strongest player cannot defend, the second strongest player should come in. If the strongest player kills JP at the Research Center, it is imperative for all the players to contest the body. This is because JP probably has both the network PC and the shutdown code, which would allow the strongest player to start the hacking cinematic. As a reminder, while the strongest player does get Meiji's drops, the rest of the players can actually catch up to them, as the strongest player will be stuck at RC, which makes them unable to craft more gear or food or earn more mastery. Getting the bull intestines is not a winning condition during a hack JP game. Do not go contesting RC from the strongest player just because you want the bull intestines for yourself. There are a few things I haven't covered until now. Well, I have not covered these mechanics or feature as they're pretty straightforward, but I can give a short commentary on them. Searing Palm Squirrel and Adrenaline are two items that give non-negligible temporary or permanent boosts to your character, and are interesting but non-mandatory to craft. However, if you have the opportunity to craft them, please do, as they are always a great addition. Cells are non-character builds that offer various buffs, and that is also pretty straightforward. They're very well explained in the game section, so check them out. Aptitudes are non-character abilities, which aptitude you use will obviously depend on the mastery or the character you'll be choosing. Most popular aptitudes for non-gun and non-bow users are Accelerate and Counterattack. Supplies are extremely powerful. Whenever you prepare for a game, you have the possibility of using 3 supplies. Please do, as they can give you a starting advantage on your opponents and shape your early game. Stances are separated into 2 types, Offensive and Stealth. Offensive provides chance to find enemy plus 30%, and it is the default stance. Stealth provides chance to find enemy minus 30%, but chance to be found by the enemy also minus 20%. By default, you have a 70% chance of finding an enemy. You will typically use the Stealth stance throughout the game if you're a Trap ISO or a Hack JP. However, you will stay in an offensive stance the majority of the time. The only exception of using Stealth stance is when it is the final area and there are 3 or more people alive, as it reduces the chance to be found. The rest function is separated into 3 types. You can either heal, which recovers 2 HP per second, sleep, which recovers 4 stamina per second, or first aid, which treats an injury for 12 seconds. This function is used especially when you are out of stamina and want to avoid exhaustion. What are the general steps recommended for a new player in order to learn the game? For beginner players, this is often the hardest part of the game. Generally speaking, if you're a newer player, you will be very unfamiliar with all the game's content. I recommend the following steps that should generally improve your gameplay and game knowledge. First of all, focus on one singular character and a singular mastery. As a newer player, you will get overwhelmed by the amount of recipes, information, and skills. By focusing on a singular character, you learn more about the specifics of your character and slowly learn the recipes leading to the different weapons linked to your chosen mastery. Thus, this reduces the amount of things you need to learn and help you get a general understanding of the game. Secondly, I say to learn recipes and game mechanics generally, not necessarily by heart, but have a shallow understanding of how they work together. I've covered most of the game mechanics previously, and that is basically what you should know when starting the game. Your general understanding of the game will help you in the future in deducing more easily where the ingredients are located. For example, where do you normally find pencils and alcohol? School and hospital are logical answers, and you would be right. The third is to learn routes. A route is a pathing plan that allows you to search for certain ingredients used to craft to multiple armor pieces and or weapon at once. This generally helps newer players on not focusing on crafting armor pieces one by one, but rather crafting multiple equipment at once. Here you have an example of a route for stat players. Pause the video if needed. With this, you would have a blue chest piece, a blue weapon, and a blue leg equipment within, optimally, the first 2 minutes of the game. If the RNG gods are good, you would also have food and a great arm that will be useful later with Iron Sheet. One of the simplest ways to improve is to simply watch content. A lot of veteran players like me will do content creation whether on YouTube, Twitch, Bilibili, Nico Nico, so check them out. Looking at their gameplay and playstyle can help you understand their actions, improve your game sense, your game knowledge, and help in the future when it concerns in-game decision making. After all, you also learn a lot from the strongest players. As a strong warning, the learning curve in this game is extremely high. You will lose a ton of games before you actually start improving. This is totally fine, and it was the case for everyone that has started playing the game, so please stick with us. If you are a player that only gets fun by winning, this game is probably not for you, and you will have a bad time. Remember that practice is key. The more you practice and play games, the faster you will become in making decisions, crafting, and understanding how the game will go. For example, try to create a private game full of bots. Then, try crafting your equipment the fastest possible by taking into account that you will be interrupted since people will contest coveted areas. Also, prioritize efficiency. Go to areas that have all the different ingredients you need. For example, if you need steel chain and scrap metal, it is more efficient to go to alley or slums rather than hotel or uptown for steel chain than factory or beach for scrap metals. I will now cover more advanced mechanics for players that are looking to improve their gameplay or playstyle. Flexing, short for flexibility, is a general term used to describe when you have a general pathing in mind but use whatever RNG gives you to adapt your pathing and create a new one. For example, if you are at slums, have an iron sheet and you cannot find arm weavers to create a bazoo band, but instead find a dog and obtain a leather, you should craft a sheath instead of your arm gear. This means that you will not path to forest to craft iron claw and upgrade your bazoo band to sword stopper, but instead you will pick up a bracelet at slums, then go to tunnel to craft a gold and upgrade sheath to a sword of Shajan.
I might just grab the letter for my arm. Okay, I was gonna go for arm warmers, but I don't think I'll be getting slums or school anytime soon, so... Oh, I need that bracelet. Okay, if I get the dog again, that's good.
It is very recommended to flex and not always follow your route to the letter, as this allows you to be quicker and be more efficient, allowing you to focus on other parts of the game, such as crafting food or fighting. Ultimately, routes are only effective and optimal when luck is on your side. Flexing will always be better since you can craft items based on the order of which you get the ingredients. Flexing is the most important in the first areas to go through. As time passes, pick up interesting ingredients that can be helpful in the future. For example, if you are at slums and find both glass cup and a TV, you can aim for a hero helmet even though you don't have a fire helmet yet. This sort of always improvising your gear will be beneficial to you, since it forces you to learn some gear recipes and always adapt to situations in case you cannot secure your planned items beforehand. Sometimes, flexing is also forced upon you, mainly because the areas you want are heavily contested by a stronger player. Snowballing is a term used in the gaming community to describe a player that is able to leverage their small lead on other players. Snowballing leading to a point where other players cannot catch up is the ultimate goal for all players, as, especially in Black Survival, you will hate being just at par against the other players, as you always want to be in a better situation than the other players. Being in the lead means that you deal more damage, have more levels, and that you are able to contest any area on the map. Your presence is scary and other players that aren't leading should avoid you. But how do I make small lead? Small leads come from having higher mastery, more complete gear, having more food allowing you to fight more, or a combination of all these. A small lead, however, concerns the whole lobby. Just because you have a better gear than a third of the lobby doesn't mean that you are ahead. However, if you have a better gear than most of the lobby, you can consider yourself as one of the leading players. How do you snowball? Whenever you have a lead on other players, the first thing you should do is to leverage the lead. This can be done by finishing your gear or weapon the fastest possible, by contesting wanted areas, by chasing noises and fighting, which will increase your mastery, controlling animals, and guarding useful bodies. How do you prevent snowballing? You have to be extremely attentive of your opponent's potential mistakes. Are they bluffing on having food? If your opponent has low HP, it is worth trying to fight back in order to check if they have food. The leading player may deal more damage, but if they don't have enough food, they will die. Did your opponent finish their gear? If they are doing more damage due to having a purple weapon and a mastery lead, if they have no armor, it means that they are still taking a lot of damage. They will have to complete their armor later since you are fighting them. If they take more and more damage, they will eventually lose their lead as they will need to focus on food in order to survive rather than finishing their gear. How can you catch up? Avoid fighting the leading player. This might be counterintuitive to what I said earlier, but if your opponent has a lot of HP or is way ahead in mastery compared to you, it is not worth fighting them and feeding them mastery. You are better off picking fights you can actually take, especially with players you are at par with. Keeping unfair trades against a stronger player can be called as feeding, as you are essentially allow them to become stronger and stronger while you aren't necessarily doing the same. If you are a new player, avoid this at all costs, as the leading player will snowball even more. Try to build mastery from animals or players you are at par with.
Over there. Over there. What is this?
Focus on finishing your armor or gear. If you're already done with this, you can then focus on crafting food and be ready to contest when Wickeline spawns. Scavenge dead bodies. Sometimes they will have items that would be greatly useful for you. Also, as another reminder, just because you are behind doesn't necessarily mean you will lose the game. Everything can happen in a game. The leading player may make a mistake and die, and please believe me when I say this, and don't give up. I have won an insane amount of games from other players' mistakes. Also, if you are familiar enough with recipes and general concepts of the game, you can now dive into all the characters' kits, as it helps a lot in understanding what you are playing against, your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Learning about the characters' kits also allows you to learn more about adaptation and unfair trades. I will now cover questions or complaints that are often made or asked from beginners or returning players. Why am I so behind? Being behind can come from different factors. You were ping-ponged, which means that you bounced from one area to another repeatedly because you were contested each time. Even though you have gained some mastery, you have no armor and no weapon. Be aware that this happens even to veteran players. Some games you are just unlucky, and that is totally okay. You are slower than other players when it comes to crafting. That is also very fine. It takes practice and a lot of games to have a faster speed. Your mastery is way lower than others. This means that you have to fight more and be more active on the map. Build them some mastery and be sure to have food when you do so. Also, all the catch-up rules also apply to this situation. Thus, even if you are behind, you can eventually catch up. If your opponents craft their equipment faster than you do, this is unfortunately something that can happen a lot since we don't have a lot of veteran players. The lobbies are usually filled with one or more experienced players that are faster than others, and you will have to practice a lot. Try to learn more about recipes and improve both efficiency and speed. This takes time. Black Survival has an insane learning curve. You will lose a lot before you actually start winning. If you keep getting contested, avoid fighting a whole lot in the early game, especially since it's one of your most vulnerable moments due to the game's fast pace and lack of food at the beginning. Be prepared to flex and concede your area to others. However, if you can fight off your opponent, either because you have more food or more damage, please do. If you tend to die early, general tips are to craft armor faster by focusing on multiple pieces of equipment at the same time rather than focusing on one armor piece at a time. That is when routes become useful as they give you guidance and consistency. Also, avoid fighting a lot in the early game, especially when you do not have food or little food. If you do have food, eat while fighting, as eating food puts you on a 5-second cooldown before you are able to eat more food. That's it for the BS guide. I just wanted to quickly have a thank you note to all the people that have helped me indirectly or directly in making this guide. Notably, thanks to streamers that have allowed me to use the clips or stream, to the Wiki community from which I have taken a lot of information to write this guide, to my friends, and to the BS community for being so wholesome, and to you for taking your time to read through everything or watching everything. That's it for me.